at least on the, yes, and thank you for the recording, Greg. And I know that we are the Friday before, at least in the US, a Thanksgiving holiday. So I suspect we'll have less people, and I had a few people reach out to me letting me know that. But we do record, as you just heard, and we publish the recording pretty closely after the meeting takes place. And we do have a few people who kind of join us that way typically. So why don't we go ahead and get started? I think everyone knows, but I'm Rosa Maimi. I'm the Director of Engagement and Membership here at AGU. So this is our last section support call of the year. And at the end of this call, I'm going to give you a few updates about how we will kind of engage going forward for 2023 and some of our plans. But I also want to ask Amber to kind of chime in and say hi. So Amber, are you ready?
Yes, thanks, Rosa. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. It's good to see you. Just to reintroduce myself, because I know I'm still fairly new with the organization, I'm Amber Levy, VP of Affiliation, Engagement, and Membership. And, you know, as Rosa mentioned, this is such a critical time. And I just want to thank everyone for your volunteer leadership. It's so important to us. And having been a volunteer leader myself, I know all the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into that. So I just want to say how much we appreciate your time and all that you give to the organization, particularly thanks to those who are sort of transitioning out this year. But again, thank you so much. And I really look forward to seeing hopefully a lot of you in Chicago here shortly. So again, thanks, and look forward to working with you again.
Thanks, Amber. We appreciate that. So why don't we get going? This is a 90-minute call, and I will say for the last one of the year, it's pretty jam-packed. So to the speakers on here, don't kill me if I start doing time checks. so let's start with Eric and Ricky. OSPA review process. I'm not going to read through the whole agenda because you should have gotten it in advance. So why don't we just jump right into OSPA?
Cool. Happy to hit the ground running. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hey everyone, I'm Eric Hankin. I'm the Assistant Director for Career and Student Programs. I've talked to you all a bunch, but I know we always get new folks joining these calls. Joining me today is our new Program Manager for Student Programs and Grants. Ricky, if you want to come on and introduce yourself real quick. I know she's on.
Hi, I'm having a little trouble with my video camera, but my name is Ricky Anderson. I'm the new Program Manager for Student Programs and Grants, and I'm looking forward to working with you all. And thank you, Eric, for the introduction.
Yeah, when I first joined, my picture was upside down, so I don't know what's going on with cameras today. So OSPA, we're going to be talking a little bit about this year's program, kind of where we are with that and what's coming down the pike, and then talk about what the future for OSPA holds, and an upcoming advisory committee that we're going to form for a revamp of OSPA. So we are in the third year and final year of our contract with the Reviewer platform. You know, over the course of our time with Reviewer, the OSPA platform, we've had some major hurdles. We've seen some systematic improvement, but that improvement has not been good enough. Let's just put it that way. We've been working a lot with our customer reps at Reviewer, with their developers, to try take care of the major pain points for OSPA to make this year work as well as it possibly can, given some of the limitations of that platform that we can't change. So a big one that we did this year is providing the coordinators with all of the needed information for them to carry out their role. So all of the students who are participating for their section, all of the liaisons for their section, and all the judges, the judge pool for the sections a month plus in advance of fall meeting. Outside of the Reviewer platform, so that they can be talking amongst themselves, holding their own calls, divvying up tasks as they see fit, and not be reliant on the platform to be working from day one to be able to do their job. That said, they have now entered, so that's good, and they are able to carry out some of their tasks in the platform. Another major area of concern was the judge showcase. So this is where judges would go and view the available presentations to judge. It was incredibly slow, especially when you factor in conference center Wi-Fi and the limitations we have there. So we worked with our development team to remove a lot of the clutter and make that page much faster to load and a lot easier to navigate too. So it's an easier process for our judges to be able to find a presentation that they've been asked to judge or peruse those that are available and sign themselves up. And we also know that even though we get folks who have been taking part in OSPA year after year, there's also lots and lots of new folks, and many haven't used the reviewer platform before. So we've really worked to improve the user support with some new videos, new instruction guides, and we're holding office hours as well. And Ricky will talk about that in a little bit. You can go to the next slide. So despite these improvements, we know there's going to be some pain points. One of them is just how many students participate in OSPA. So we have about 2,400 student presenters this year, a little less than 2,400. That's a lot. Figure, what was it, 18,000 total abstracts at fall meeting, something around that. The fall meeting team can correct me. But a good portion of our presenters, and certainly of our student presenters at fall meeting, take part in OSPA. And those who are student presenters cannot be judges. Students can be judges, but not if they're presenting as part of OSPA. So you're already removing a huge chunk of your potential judge pool right there. So we know that's going to be an issue. That is 30% less students than we had last year, but we also know that the abstract number was down too. And the proportion of students make up a larger portion of the abstract submitters this year than they did in years past, I believe. So finding judges for these students is going to continue to be an issue. Great, we found the judges, we've signed them up to provide feedback. They've also got to follow through on completing that feedback and making sure that feedback is constructive. It's not something as simple as a great job. That's not of much use to a student to know how they can better present their science. And we can't assume that the software is going to be bug-free. And so we've taken a lot of time to build contingencies so that our volunteers are less reliant on the platform and that we can provide better administrative support as well. You can go to the next slide. And here I'll kick it over to Ricky to talk a little bit about the timeline for this year.
Sure. So this year, we really wanted to make sure our evaluators and students had clear communications, knew what their responsibilities were, and had all the information they needed to succeed. On the first week of November, on the 3rd, we actually sent all of our coordinators the full list of students, liaisons, and judges for their section so they could begin reviewing which students are in their section, which judges they have, and begin the process to kind of organize that information ahead of going into the platform itself. On the 3rd week of November, coordinators and students were provided access to the platform. The majority have been able to get in with no problem. Those who have actually got in, we're encouraging people to log in early, make sure they can actually access the program and see everything that they are supposed to see there. So far, we've had good response from folks entering. We've had one so far meeting with our coordinators, a Zoom call. So we're having Zoom calls with coordinators and other groups, evaluator groups. So if they have any questions, we can speak to them in person, answer that, share a screen, walk them through the entire process. Next week, liaisons will be invited to access the platform. The week after that, we'll have judges entering the platform around December 1st, which is also the deadline for students to update their attendance type in the platform. So one pain point last year was that judges and the evaluators weren't sure where students were, if they're an online presenter, if they were an in-person presenter. So this year, what we've done is we're having the students go in and confirm their presentation type. So telling us if they're an online poster, telling us if they're an in-person poster, and that way we can communicate that information to the judges, and the judges will know where to find the students. During the fall meeting, we'll have the evaluations come in. The last day to assign a judge will be the last day of the fall meeting. But they have until the 9th of January to actually complete their evaluations. By the end of January, we will have the coordinators and section leaders select the winners for their sections. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, we're having Zoom calls with coordinators in virtual office hours prior to the fall meeting, so we can answer any questions as they arise and make sure everyone is aware of their role and can, conduct their responsibilities prior to the meeting. We have an AGU Connect where our coordinators and liaisons can share best practices, share tips for organizing their sections. We've improved our video instructions, and we've created written instructions for all user types. So no matter which way they prefer to learn, we have video and written instruction for them to access. And then on-site, we'll have support for them and virtual support during the fall meeting and after as well. So, you know, we're open to having for questions and feedback from our evaluators and students, so we can help them to the best of our ability.
Great, thanks, Ricky. And I want to give a shout out specifically to the biogeosciences section, who had back in, I think, September, suggested, hey, let's have some Zoom calls with the coordinators where they can share some best practices. And we'd been talking about having office hours too from a customer support standpoint, but just in our first call yesterday, it worked really well for some new coordinators to hear from experienced ones about how their sections dealt with the task at hand. And, it's going to be different for every section because, different sections have different numbers of presentations, but the VGP section in particular shared about how that group, who's been working together for a number of years, kind of has things down to a well-oiled machine, and gave some advice to some new folks, which is great. Hope to see more of that. Moving on to OSPA for the future. So, regardless of the reviewer platform and limitations there, we know that there's other areas of this program that could use another look. And so we'll be forming an advisory committee. We're going to form it soon. We'd like to have them kick off sometime in January of next year. So you'll hear a call out for some volunteers for that very soon. It'll be made up of current student participants in OSPA, past student participants, and then different volunteer types too. Past coordinators, current coordinators, judges, what have you. Not only those who have been working on the program in the last few years, but also some of those folks who may have been working on it beforehand too. When it was run through a different system. Talking about a 2-year length of service, and with the opportunity for renew there too. And I know in past advisory groups, it was kind of a one-off thing. So we'd like this to be continuing on. It's not only just for this revamp, we also want them to be participating as an advisory committee for the annual review of the program and suggesting improvements there. If you can go to the next slide. So here's where we are with the draft charge. So this committee will help us in looking at the data that we've received over the years from surveys of students and judges and sections to understand what are the goals of OSPA and what processes do we need to put in place to help reach those goals, what platform may be helpful in carrying out those processes. Also in understanding, okay, well, what are the best practices in student awards programs and mentoring for students, and how can those better help us achieve our goals and influence our practices and processes. Recommending practices and initiatives that can advance the OSPA goals themselves, and also looking at, okay, what are the bandwidth and what are the drivers of not only our students but our volunteers too, and how does that influence how OSPA can be run? So those are some of the factors that come into play in this charge for this committee. So I hope we did that fast enough, Rosa. I'd like to kind of turn it over to questions at this point.
Thanks, Eric. So there is a question in the chat. Is there a link yet for people to sign up to be a judge? Could this be added to the main fall meeting website?
There is a link. It lives on, don't tell your friends, it lives on the OSPA page on the AGU site. We don't really want people going in and actively signing up to sign themselves yet. This is still in kind of the soft, not the soft launch stage, but we want our primary our judge managers, our coordinators and liaisons to be talking to judges and assigning them before opening it up to the larger pool. Also, because before we want a couple hundred people in there before we open it up to thousands to start signing themselves up, because we are still seeing some bugs popping up in the system. So Ricky mentioned, kind of that. Go ahead, Ricky.
I was just gonna say, and we'll be emailing the judges who said they wanted to judge during abstract submission. We'll be emailing them on December 1st with access information. So we are, the link is on the website, but we're trying to hold off until that December 1st launch to get those folks in the system.
Yeah, and we'll talk to our web team about how best to showcase OSPA and links to sign up on the fall meeting page too, because we know, during fall meeting and right before fall meeting, that's where people are going to be coming more than they are to the AGU site itself.
Great. Any other questions for the chat, or raise your hand or shout out? Anyone? All right. Well, thanks, Eric and Ricky. I appreciate it. And as I mentioned, this presentation gets published probably early next week, so you may get some more inquiries based on that. So
Great. So yeah, stay tuned for that call for volunteers for the advisory committee, and we'll also be posting to the section leader Connect group your student travel grant winners, because they've all been awarded, they've confirmed, so we can pass along that info to you too.
great. Thank you. All right. So why don't we talk about fall meeting? So we've got Lauren and Suzanne here. So Lauren, are you going to start us off?
Actually, I'm going to have Suzanne start off.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay,
Hi,
cool.
hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne Davidson, Director of Meetings. Marissa, do you want to go to the next slide? So we are 3 weeks away from fall meeting, and we just kind of want to give you an overview of what to expect when you get on site. The buildings we're using, just kind of the flow, where we are with registration. So we're going to kind of walk through a couple of the buildings. Can you go to the next slide? So we are, majority of the meeting is taking in the south building. We have on level 3, we're going to have the registration area. So when you walk into the main building of south, the plenary room will be on the main floor, and there'll be oral session rooms on that main floor. And then you're going to walk up to the 3rd level, where you're going to be registering for the meeting. The exhibit hall, the poster hall is going to be up there, speaker ready room, AGU Central, all the main services are going to be in that area on the 3rd level. And then you'll also have oral session rooms. The council is going to take place on Sunday at McCormick Place. And then, as I said, it's going to have a nice flow. Everything's, you're not going to have to walk too far. Go to the next slide. And then in the north building, which is directly across from south, we're going to have just kind of, the ancillary rooms. There's going to be the press room, editors room, and the donors cafe and patron lounge will be located in that room. We'll also have the family room, a mother's room over there, and we are doing goat yoga. Unfortunately, puppy yoga got canceled, but we are offering goat yoga, and we'll have a prayer room, and there's some internal AGU sessions that will take place in North. Next slide. And then Lakeside, we have more oral session rooms, and we're going to have some private meeting rooms over there. It says for staff, but it's also for internal or for attendees as well. For online sessions. It's a quiet area, and we also have a quiet area in the poster hall as well. Next slide. And then here's just kind of an overview of the Hall A, which consists, we're putting a lot of areas into Hall A. So as you can see, the first area you're going to see is registration. That's where, if you haven't done your safe access, you will proceed to the safe access counter to get your verification done. And then you'll have the counters for either on-site registration or the scan and go. And it's also, we'll have AGU Central area as well. That's kind of expanded, and we'll talk a little bit further about that, some of the programs that are going in there. And then we have the poster hall, and then it opens into the exhibit hall. And we'll also have some food concessions as well, where the back and where the tables are in the back. Next slide. And then across from Hall A, we have located speaker ready room. So it's directly across from registration to make it convenient for everybody. We'll also have coat check, because we know it's wintertime, and we'll see probably more coats being, people checking their coats, and as well as any luggages and stuff through the week. And then we also have our poster pickup. So it's all conveniently located across from everything. Next slide. And now we're going to go into hotel spaces because I know many of you have your section receptions and events that are taking place at the various hotels. So just to kind of give you an overview of the Hyatt Regency, I think, you know, there will be section receptions that will take place, luncheons. We have the international reception, the LGBTQ reception, and many other ancillary receptions that will take place. And the good thing about the Hyatt too, the Hyatt is connected to the McCormick Place, so that you don't have to go outside. It's very, there's a door when you come into South that'll take you right over to Hyatt. Next slide. And then we have the Marriott Marquis. Again, we have more section events that will take place over on Tuesday at in many of the ballrooms. And then we also have the College of Fellows, Honors Banquet, and again, ancillary events that will take place throughout the week. Next slide. Next slide. And just to kind of give you highlights for the week, you know, we'll start on Saturday with the board meeting, and then we have some scientific workshops that will take place at the convention center, both on Saturday and Sunday. We have the council that will take place at the convention center on Sunday. Registration will open. The other thing, we will have a satellite registration at the Sheraton downtown on Sunday and Monday to service anyone who's staying downtown and, you know, at the surrounding hotels. So we're going to promote that as well, so people know that, you know, they don't have to come to the convention center on Sunday and Monday. And then Monday, again, we'll start our plenaries, town halls throughout the week, field trips. Everything will open up, poster hall, exhibit hall. And what editors evening takes place at the planetarium, and we also have the president's reception. And then Tuesday is your big night with section social events. Again, we have the plenaries throughout the week. Wednesday, we have honor ceremony and banquet that will take place. And then we're also doing Adler Planetarium open night, which we are going to have tickets available for anybody who would like to go to the planetarium. We'll make that announcement. We'll distribute those on Tuesday. So it's you're on your own, but we'll have the tickets that you can go for their public night. And then Thursday, we're doing the night at the museums. We have the Field Museum as well as the Museum of Science and Industry, and we'll have buses for that evening. And that's also, we'll be promoting tickets for those two venues starting Tuesday, but we'll be marketing when those are available. And then again, we have many receptions that will take place. And then Friday, we'll get through. It's, again, all plenaries and town halls and poster hall. And so there's a lot of activities. This is just a quick summary of it, but I just kind of wanted to highlight things that were happening throughout the week. Next slide. And then just to give you an overview, we are now at 18,652. These are our registration totals. We're seeing a high attendance. 81% are attending in person, which is great. And then we have, the 19% who are going to be participating online. And then just to make sure make sure you do your safe access verification. I know if you've registered, they have sent out links for you to upload your verification and do the approval process. Please make sure you do it before you get on site. It makes it so much easier because all you have to do once you have that, the safe access approval, you can go to Scan and Go and print your badge. And then our top 5 countries, as I said, we're seeing Canada, UK, Germany, Korea, and India attending. And then again, we have 2 locations for registration, Hall A at McCormick Place all week, and then the Sheraton on Sunday and Monday. Next slide. And then I just wanted to show kind of what's new for this year. Again, I think we've talked about the website redesign. And then we're going to have the AGU Central. In AGU Central, we're going to have a wellness area where we're going to have some activities, some games, and a massage area. And then we're going to have that's available to all attendees. And then we have a brain date lounge, which, in the last few years, we've been doing brain dates online, but we're also opening the opportunity for the brain dates on site. So there'll be 2 opportunities for this. And then we also, as I mentioned, we have the night at the museum, the planetarium, and then we have the innovation and exploration zone in the exhibit hall. And we are doing goat yoga. That was like the first thing to sell out in our field trips. And then we'll have an art exhibit also in the AGU Central. And then we're also implementing nooks. So if you see in the bottom right corner, these are areas that will have an AGU Central, for people to meet one-on-one and have discussions. And then unfortunately, we have a puppy playpen that has been canceled. Our puppy yoga and puppy playpen were both canceled. And I know, Lauren, you mentioned there were 2 other things. I don't want, if you want to talk about those.
So the bad news for all of you is no puppies. The good news is that it's actually due to a shortage of adoptable dogs in the Chicago area. So good news that pets are finding homes. And we've got a late edition field trip that is going to get posted. Babak Tafreshi is an astrophotographer. He's also with Nat Geo. He's going to give a plenary on Tuesday. The Geminids meteor shower is actually on Wednesday. So we are going to go to Indiana Dunes National Park, and take a small group there overnight on Wednesday. So more to come about that. And then I also wanted to, there was a question, Suzanne, Tanya had asked about when we're saying we're going to put out more information about Night at the Museums and how to get those tickets, or how to get a ticket to the open night at the Adler. How is that information going to come out and when?
It will probably come out. We'll probably announce it in the Know Before You Go. That was the first announcement. And then we will also announce it through the mobile app and through walk-in slides and make announcements throughout the week or the first couple of days, because Tuesday is when everybody will pick up. I don't know if you recall 2018, we had a long line of people waiting for the Night at the Museums, and it's a first come first serve. We have so many tickets for the Field Museum, and we have an inventory of tickets for MSI. And so we will make that announcement. You'll see it come through the mobile app. You'll see it come through the Know Before You Go on when to pick those tickets up.
And then the other last thing that I would say that we'd love for you to stop by, we have an open science kind of booth pavilion space on the floor this year, celebrating AGU's commitment to open science. And there will be all kinds of workshops and programming available there. And it's really on the exhibit floor. It'll be very well marked. So we encourage you to stop by there as well.
Next slide. Okay, and this is just getting around Chicago. We have taxis are available, and then the ride sharing. There's Uber, Lyft, and the other service that we've learned about is also it's called Curb, and we've been just kind of getting more information on that. And then again the public transportation. There's the CTA as well as the Metro Rail. Next slide. And this is just kind of a map of the CTA for the bus lines, and shows you getting around Chicago. Next slide. Next slide. And so the mobile app, that's going to, I think, launch at the end of November. That is the goal, to go live with that. Just a reminder, just download it before you get to Chicago, so that when you get there, you're not having to deal with the Wi-Fi, you already have it downloaded. Next slide. And then this is just kind of instructions on logging in, once to log in to get the mobile app. You must be registered for fall meeting, either in person or virtual, to access the mobile app and the online platform. And just, if you have any problems with your password, just go to the link listed here below, and we'll have Rosa can share these slides with you. Next slide. Okay, go to the next slide. So
Suzanne,
brain dates. Do you want to
before-
talk about this, Lauren?
I can talk about one really quick question, if you can see in the chat, related to hotel reservations and how are those coming out? I know some of you have already received your reservations, but if someone has not received a reservation yet, what should they do?
So
Or confirmation, sorry, if they haven't received it.
So Tanya, so I see Tanya's the one asking the question, and I heard yesterday about a status of board and council reservations. So Tanya, could you write to Catherine, or if you don't know Catherine Rubida's email, could you write to me and then I'll forward it to her and she'll get back to you?
yeah, so there's still everyone, the board and council should have received their confirmations on the hotel reservation. And if you do have any questions or changes, again, contact Catherine. She's working very closely with Jamea, who's in our department on the housing. Okay. Lauren, do you want to go with brain dates?
Yeah, if we could put Catherine from the executive office's email in the chat, that would be great.
Yep.
Thank you so much. So brain dates, some of you have participated in this before. This is a one-on-one or small group conversation, and it occurs in a really safe space. So for example, when you are online, you don't have to share any personal details. You can say, hey world, I am interested in sharing my expertise on X, and others who are interested in hearing about your expertise or discussing something with you or solving a problem with you can also join you. It's been really popular and we've loved doing it online. The nice part again is that it allows you to engage without sharing your personal contact details. And online, there's actually a kind of button that you can push if you need immediate assistance. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this in person also this year. And we have kind of a loungy space where people can meet up. So you'll come into Brain Dates to the lounge for your appointment. There will be somebody there to check you in and show you to a table. You'll meet your Brain Dates partner or partners and have your conversations, and then you can be on your way. And that way it's in a safe place, it's in a known place, and you're not kind of, meeting strangers and trying to figure out how to do that. So it works out really well. What you're gonna wanna do is post your topic in the Brain Date topic market, and or you can browse the Brain Date topic market and find something that you would like to attend. So again, it's a very cool platform. We've used it for a couple of years, and we just love it for the functionality and for the ability to connect around specific topics and find folks who you might not know who you are interested in talking to. Next slide. So again, you must be registered for the fall meeting. These are like bite-sized conversations, 30 minutes, and maximum of 5 people. So if you and a friend want to post something, or you want to post something on your own, that's great. And again, we'll have staff there to greet you at the Brain Date Lounge, and then virtual conversations will happen in the platform, but you must be registered to participate. Next slide. Social Q&A. Suzanne, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, so social Q&A, we're going to be using that in the session rooms. So How will you use social Q&A? It'd be hybrid and in-person sessions. We'll use the social Q&A. Online sessions will use a Zoom Q&A function. So just, I know that last year there was, people were trying to figure it out, but that's how we're separating it with the Conference IO. Next slide. And then attendees, both in person and online, will be able to submit questions during the session. Attendees can also upvote questions and asked by others. Questions with most votes will rise to the top of the list as well. Next slide. And then for moderating a Q&A, you want to make sure that you're identifying someone in your session to be the moderator who can, watch for the questions. You can use any device for internet browsing. And we do encourage that attendees submit questions during the session. This is something we've been trying to train people to get, used to doing the social Q&A. Instead of, most people are used to microphones, but we have this technology that, a lot of people don't use. But we are trying to train everyone, attendees and moderators to, fully use the tool. Next question. Next slide. And then, they will be sending out instructions to session chairs and staff on how to log in and use the moderator tools. And if there's any questions, Rebecca Orns is our lead on the social Q&A. And so we have her email here if there's any, issues or questions on it. Next slide. Next slide. And then this is just a map of the hotels, where we are in Chicago, the hotels that we're using. And then we have a star on there for the Sheraton, just to highlight that that is where we also have a registration satellite. Next slide. And just, we're in Chicago this year, so we want to make sure everybody dresses warm and wears comfortable shoes, and just don't forget your technology, because, we, make sure you download the mobile app before you get there. Bring your water bottles. We're really stressing that as well. And yeah, we can't wait to see you. Next slide. And just don't forget to register. That is critical, and download the mobile app. Remember not to, a lot of people, when they have issues, it's because they're registering at the last minute and they can't get into their session room. So we're asking, everyone to just, register, in advance, 48 hours in advance before their talk, to, eliminate any challenges that they have with logging in on site. Next slide. Yeah, and that's it. So any questions?
Anyone?
And just a reminder, if you think of questions later, or if you hear from questions from your community, you can always reach out. Please email me. I return emails. I'm happy to talk to any of you about things that you need. If you have suggestions, also think about it through the meeting. You'll certainly have a post-meeting survey. But if you have something that's really specific and you want to say, hey, like, I really wish we had done it this way or tried it this, happy to have those suggestions always.
Yeah. And Margaret, you've got your hand up.
Just a small thing that it was mentioned here that there's information we had to upload for our COVID safety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, said there won't be a link, you have to find this again or something, whatever it was. I hope that you'll be sending out emails to everyone who registers, reminding them and helping them find their way back to that portal if we need it. There seemed like there was something else we were supposed to do.
So I know Safe Access, if you've registered, has, they send out weekly notifications saying, just as a reminder to upload your verification card.
Yeah, they email you. but
Yeah.
the email won't come from us, Margaret. It comes from
Yeah.
Safe Access.
Well, I did that, but then it said you'll need to come back and do something else, but there's no link. It was something ambiguous. I did upload it. That's fine. I'm
Okay.
not hearing from them, but it was some follow-up, I thought. Like when you get to the meeting, you have to show something. And how we get that to show was not clear to me. Maybe it was very clear to everyone else.
The safe access check mark, kind of the approval part is what you're not seeing.
Mhm.
Okay.
I'll double check to see if there's a, and get back with you, Margaret, because you should be able to, when you get on site, we want everybody to show that you have already done that so that you could just go directly to the scan and go and get your badge.
Right.
Yeah,
And
they-
Jeff said he just got his, but I just saying, I think that's going to be one of those things where maybe even
So-
AG will want to follow up with those instructions, and
Yep.
I just
Yep.
see it being a issue.
No, we can do that, Margaret.
Yeah.
When you upload your material, it's not an instant return from Safe Access. What they're doing is they're looking at your card and it's in a queue with everyone else's cards that they're looking at. And then once they approve it, they'll email you back and they'll say, here's your green check mark, and that's what you show. But I agree, if this isn't clear, let's do a better job on getting those
Yeah.
instructions or sharing those instructions. I appreciate the feedback.
Okay, and let's take one more question from Janet.
Yes, thanks. I'm still just a little confused about the hotel reservations. I made a reservation in September, October, and got a confirmation of the booking was accepted. But should I be expecting something more?
So for
Janet,
board
this
and
is Cheryl,
council,
and
they
you're
are,
also-
the confirmations have gone out. That's, but if you booked it on your own, that's a separate, you should have gotten a confirmation from Merits.
So
Right.
Janet, we
Hey,
can check for
Suzanne,
you
please.
though.
Suzanne? No, hang on. This is Cheryl. So Janet is a newly elected person. Janet, you and Catherine and I were emailing yesterday or the day before. We're well aware of the situation, and we're going to be following up with newly elected council members shortly. So you have a reservation. Keep your reservation. Wait to hear from us. And if you have questions after you hear back from us, then we'll want you to reply.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Cheryl. I was confused about the separate reservation and the council one, but thanks very much for clearing that up.
We
Got
were
it.
confused too, Janet. Thank you. And thank you, Cheryl, for jumping in. We appreciate it.
All right, well, thanks, Lauren and
This is-
Suzanne, and Lauren and Suzanne are always available, as Lauren mentioned, and we also, if there's some time at the end with the open mic, you folks can stick around and ask some more questions. Lauren, were you gonna say anything else there? Okay, sorry, I saw you come off there. Okay, great. Thank you so much. So Cheryl, I think you still have the floor. So we're gonna move to Cheryl and talk about volunteer opportunities, and your first slide is now up.
Yeah, thanks so much. So this is Cheryl Enderlein, and I'm the Vice President of Leadership and Governance. And first, what I just want to say about housing is, oh my gosh, what a huge jigsaw puzzle this is. And when we add in newly elected as well, about 40 people, it just makes the puzzle even more complicated. So thanks so much to the meetings team for everything they're doing to help us. And also thanks to Catherine. I think you all probably now have Catherine's email like 3 times in the chat, but Catherine is the point person for the board and the council housing. And if you've got questions, well, one, you should be hearing from her via the executive office email account, but you can also email her personally. I've given her a heads up. And yeah, so we're just really thankful to the meeting team, and we're also really thankful for your patience as we try to navigate all of this. And we know it comes down to the last minute every time, but we are working to take care of adding on the extra night if you already had a reservation and that kind of thing. All right, so before I talk about Volunteer Central, I just want to make the offer to Lauren and Suzanne that my puppy is available to come be the mascot at Chicago. And, you know, he's adorable. So moving right along, I'm here to talk to you about Volunteer Central. You may or may not even know that we have a page a part of AGU Connect that is specifically titled Volunteer Central and is a place where we ask people to give us their some brief profile information, and then they're discoverable in our database. And then when jobs become available that might match their profile, we can make them aware of those opportunities for them to choose. Well, the reason I'm coming to you today is two reasons. Will you go to the next slide, and then I'm going to come back to this slide real quick. At fall meeting, there's going to be this slide on the screen as a walk-in slide, one of the rotating slides before every session. And so this just basically covers what I just said. That will be making sure that people are aware of Volunteer Central and that they go and have the opportunity to complete a profile or to browse the micro volunteering opportunities that we're working to load up before we get to Chicago. Micro volunteering is less than 10 hours. And so we're working on that from the staff side. But if you go back to the other slide, please. We also just wanted you as section leaders to know that this tool is something that you can use. So if you have the time, and I understand everybody's super slammed with fall meeting and your regular life, but if you could think about some opportunities that you have either available now or coming up in 2023, then Jack would really like to know, Jack and I, about those so that we could help you get those posted before fall meeting, because we know that during the next month is probably the time when most people would be looking at Volunteer Central, just because we're going to be promoting it and people are highly engaged with AGU and all of its various websites. I'm going to let Jack come on real quick and say hello so that you know who he is.
Hi, yeah, my name is Jack Render. Most of you in the sections, we probably interacted when we were, I was helping Cheryl with the election. And yeah, I'll be taking information that you give me about the job postings and putting them onto the Volunteer Central, which is on AGU Connect. Right now, just for the sake of uniformity and control, I'm going to be the one actually putting everything online, but I will be working with you to tailor those posts. Some of that will be getting your contact information, and I have a Microsoft form that if you want, I will be sending out to you to help you kind of build that job posting and see what kind of information is needed.
Thanks, Jack. So we'll send a follow-up email, if not today, then on Monday, just so that everybody has access to the form and for the people who aren't on the call now. And just so that you know that to really help us have the time to sort this out and come back to you if there's any questions, then we're asking for a November 30th deadline. So anyway, you know how to find to both Jack and I, and so if you've got questions, please let us know.
All right, thanks Cheryl so much. And I know you're literally on the road, so thank you for calling us from your car. And if there are questions, again, please reach out to Cheryl and Jack. Now we're going to move on to our next exciting topic, Honors Web redesign. My name's on here, but I'm really going to have Heather Lent, our product development director extraordinaire, kind of walk you through some of the things that we're doing to update the Honors webpage and to institute a database that hopefully will make the information easier to find and organize. So Heather, over to you.
Thank you, Rosa. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for giving me some time here to walk through this with you. So I'm going to kind of lay out the purpose of this project, kind of how we arrived here, what the current challenges are, what we're hoping to fix, and then give you a quick demo in an interactive prototype of what we're thinking the site is going to look like and how it's going to function. I'd love to get some general feedback from you, but I do have a specific kind of question that I'd like to kind of get your opinions on, and that is, we're building out this database. We need to tag information in a way that makes sense, and we want to make sure that it works for both the general user and for the sections. So that'll make sense in a minute when you can see the prototype. Can you go to the next slide, please? And yeah, thank you. So the scope of work for this project is to create an easier and more transparent view into the honors process, right? We also wanted to make it easier for people to find past honorees, nomination criteria, and make it both detailed and easy to find, and make it a consistent user experience. And we also wanted to make the design kind of in line with the prestige of this program. We wanted to make sure that it had a modern look and feel. Next slide, please. So some of the current pain points that we're aware of. So one is when somebody comes to the current AGU honors site, it only kind of speaks to current programs. It doesn't to honors what AGU considers to be the honors program. There's actually some journalism awards and other awards that aren't included in that framework. And so it's really important to, we thought from a user perspective, to include everything under the sort of umbrella of AGU honors. The other issue, and this impacts both the sort of maintenance and the user experience, but citations are not attached to user profiles. So while you can go to a user profile and see that they won a specific award, you can't find their citation there. You have to then go to the honors page, and there's a lot of navigation. So we're going to be linking those two things together. And that speaks to so right now it's just incredibly time intensive to maintain. So we're actually going to be building a dynamic database that automatically populates these pages rather than having it be a manual process, which will increase the sort of, it'll make it a lot faster to publish this information. Difficult to find awards and past recipients. I kind of touched on that a little bit. And no canonical source for all awards and past honorees, right? One place where you can go to search for, a past honoree or a specific honor by keyword or name. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So goals for the new design are basically to address all of those issues. And I know we're on a sort of time crunch here, so I won't go all through this, but as I walk through the prototype, I'll show you sort of how we're addressing all of those issues. I think if it's okay with everyone, I'd like to share my screen now and go to the prototype. All right. So I think I'm going to need Greg for you to give me access to do that. There we go. Thank you. All right. So here it is. This is a, here, I'm going to take a step back to the home page. So this is the prototype for the new AGU honors landing page. You can see we've added some tabs to make it easier to navigate. We are pulling out honors by categories that we understand are important to users based on sort of market research we've done. We know what users are looking for. We know what they're searching for when they come to our site. And so we're going to aggregate them under the top 5 most searched for types of awards. And we're going to obviously give access to all of the different awards. We're going to have an ability to put a spotlight, sort of a user interest story on the page. We'll also allow people to search for specific honorees. And then in our phase 2, we're going to create a quiz that helps people, sort of a stepped, questionnaire that helps people figure out what the most appropriate honor is for their purposes, whether for themselves or somebody else. So now I'm going to take you to what we're calling the database, right? And this is where you can come and do a search or filter all of the different awards by various filters. So we have award details, we have career stage, we have section, and this is one question that that I'll want to dig into. We have eligibility requirements, and then we have kind of what we're calling our soft skills. And this is these are items that we pulled out. So I did some data analysis of the award descriptions, and I identified about 20 different soft skills that are kind of highlighted in these awards. And then we have award types as well. And so these will all be, this is just a prototype, so it's not functional right now, but you'll be able to use all of these filters to filter down to a specific set of awards. Now I'm going to click on a specific award to take you to a page, and you can see that we've pulled out metadata about this particular award in a really accessible place, so it's easy for users to see exactly what they're working with here. and they can scroll down to see all of the kind of nomination information. And then you can see honorees here. So now here on this page are all of the honorees for this particular award, organized by default in chronological order. And then you can link. So this is the other key piece to this. We're tying, as I mentioned, we're tying that user profile to the honor. So you can click on this person's sort of citation and be taken directly to their user profile, which is also being revamped as part of this process, and read the complete citation. And so the citation and the award information and the photos will be tied to this person's profile. So that is the project in a nutshell. Now I would love to open up the kind of conversation to get some feedback from you generally about this project and your thoughts, and specifically about how we're going to what the best way to kind of handle these specific science focused terms. So for example, we have a section award that has to do with, that mentions minerals and mineral and rocks. Do we want to list out all of those terms of art in the filters, or do we want to kind of tie them to the section and have that be the way that the user navigates to those? So that's the question, if that makes sense. I'd love to just open it up to everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. And we're getting some nice feedback in the public chat. And I should mention, some people have sent me private chat as well, saying that this is great. And I think, and Kimberly, you're asking, I think what we're asking for is we want to make sure that the taxonomy, basically the way that this information is listed and what's here makes sense. Heather and I aren't necessarily the experts, and certainly not the scientists in the room. And there's going to be other opportunities for you to kind of come back and tell us outside of this call, but we wanted to start the conversation here. Does that help, Kimberly?
And really, we're asking to put on your user hat, right? As a member of the AGU community, you're coming to this page to find an award. What are the filters that you want here? What would be helpful to you to kind of navigate to the honor that you're looking for? Yes, Kimberly?
Thanks. I'm going to echo what Jeff just put online. I think, can we actually access this? Can you send us a link where we can access this right now, or like put it in chat?
Oh, sure, I can put it in chat. And my intention was to, at the end of this, to send you an email with, or have someone send you guys an email containing this link and my email address. And then it's going to take hopefully some time for you all to walk through this, and maybe you could then reach out to me with direct feedback as well.
Oh, I guess when you asked the question about the taxonomy, I'm a little bit, I kind of get it because you gave the mineralogy example, and but at the same time, like, I'm having problems picturing it in the setting to better answer the question, and so that's why I was commenting on whether or not we could just pop over there and see it. And it's really tiny on my screen, partly.
Oh, I see. Sure. Here, let me do that quickly.
Okay.
And it might help if I'm going to open up a spreadsheet here.
Yeah. And I one more questions, and then I'll lower my hand and I'll turn off my mic until our section is just talking about going to a 2-stage nomination process to maybe lower the bar. Other sections have done this, I know, but like initial preliminary nomination, and then an encouragement for like a certain subset of those to submit a full package to our awards committee. And I'm saying that to see, is there a structure within this new framework to deal with that? Or am I I'm a little bit off base in terms of asking that right now with this thing that we're looking at?
And Kimberly, if I could jump in, I think one of the things that we've talked about on other calls, and you may have heard in this section support call and on other discussions, one of the things you're going to hear about at the council meeting in a few weeks is we're going to release recommendations around our honors program audit. One of the items in there is about 2-step processes and those types of things. So there will be aspects of the audit that influence how this gets built. So hopefully that, without answering you specifically to that, I mean, that's something that's certainly one of the items that will get addressed.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And I'm going to share my screen and show you all an Excel spreadsheet, which is not nearly as exciting as what I was showing you a second ago. But I want to help I want to help clarify the taxonomy question. So this is a list of all of AGU's honors, right? And so here's one: a Mineral and Rock Physics Graduate Research Award. Now, what I've done is taken all of these awards, taken all of their descriptions, and then I did some kind of analysis of the data to pull out. That's what I was talking about with those soft skills, where I sort of identified original contribution and service. So those are all in there. But what we also have, right, is very specific scientific terms that, as a product developer, don't mean anything to me. And I want to understand how it is that people, how do people nominate people? Are they coming and they're looking just for the sort of section level, or are they looking really at that kind of deeper 3 levels down, not just mineral and rock physics, but you know, the sort of tools and you know, the field itself? Are they looking at that specific level, or are they looking really just at the section level? Are they looking, for example, for computation, theoretical, and experimental? Or are they just looking at this? Does that make sense? Yes, Jeff. And I'm going to come back to this.
Yeah, my first reaction is not to dig too deeply into things like keywords and stuff like that, because like you were looking at theoretical, you know, or say machine learning is a thing, but it's typically as it relates to a particular field.
Okay.
And so if you were just searching for, say, experimental physics, it would pop up all kinds of things that wouldn't be relevant to people. So I think if people are looking for awards, they're looking for awards usually just in one section, but at most 1 or 2 sections. And that's the way that people are going to come into it. So I know right now for space physics and astronomy, we've got a lot of some mistaken information, some conflicting information. So I would focus, if I were you, on working with the sections to get all of that information about the awards correct before trying to add a bunch of searchability that might only add complexity.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. Yeah, we want to make sure, you know, we want to make sure that we're displaying good data, right? So that'll be definitely part of this project. Thank you. That's very helpful. Wendy?
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate what Jeff was saying, that I think most come in looking for sections, and I would actually have sections at the top of that left bar, right? Because that's the first thing people are going to look for. I'm looking for the early career award in planetary sciences, or the early career award in cryosphere, or something like that. So I think the section is the first thing people are going to be looking for. And I agree, you don't complicate it with a bunch of extra terms.
And I also want to point out, to your point, people could in fact do a search for a specific key term if they wanted to, and get results that are only honors or honorees containing those terms. So that might be another way to get to the more sort of field specific terms. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly, I see your hand is still up. Is that from?
It's a new hand.
Okay.
I took it down and put it back up again boldly. I was just thinking about the union awards. Actually, I've never looked into those, so I don't know if I would have to look in them and it might, once I do answer my question, but it could be that we might want a little bit more searchability within the union awards, since they might be more general. But I agree with what everybody said so far as looking for the section early, mid, or late career. We're a small enough section that would be what we would look for.
Perfect. Thank you. That's really helpful. And I know we're short on time here. I don't want to, I could talk about this all day, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And as I said, what I'd love to do is to send this out to you. And if you have time and, you know, the desire to give us some help with this, I would love to get your feedback on the usability, on the interface, and on the sort of the filters that we've identified so far. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Heather. This has been really helpful, and so have the comments in the chat, which will, Greg, if you can grab those for us before we end. And we're going to be sharing the same information, a little bit of a roadshow with a few other committees or a few committees, and to get their input as well, as we want this to be useful to folks who are used to kind of finding the information they need. But also, one of the things that Heather and I talk about is, someone who's just kind of meeting us for the first time online and really don't know much about the honors program, and how do we easily let them know, either by career stage or some other type of category, that people can easily kind of decipher what the honors program is, right? Particularly if you don't have a lot of information, or maybe not as much information as this crew here does. All right. So you'll see a follow-up email or posting in the section leader community to get more input. So, all right. So why don't we move on? So Waverly, do we have you online here to talk about College of Fellows and mentoring?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Why don't you get us started there?
Great. So this will actually be a bit brief, but we have opened applications for the College of Fellows Mentoring Network. I think previously it was referred to as the AGU Mentoring Network. Essentially, it's a group mentoring for those who have received their PhD. Anyone can apply. You don't have to be in the College of Fellows to be a mentor or a mentee. The only requirements are that you're an AGU member, and that for mentors that you've received your PhD at least 5 years prior to applying, and for mentees that you've received your PhD no more than 5 years to applying. Other than that, applications are open. We're hoping to get I think about 15 to 20 mentors, and applications are due December 1st. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm going to put the webpage in the chat. Oops. So if you want to look into it more, the webpage definitely has more information as well.
All right, thank you, Waverly. And we have Sarah, who's put in a nice pitch there. And so if you have any questions, again, reach out to Waverly. And then I'm going to close out with a couple of updates around interacting with you guys, with section leaders. So starting actually on Monday, we will have a new section support coordinator. His name is Josh McKee. I'm hoping that a lot of you can meet him at the fall meeting in Chicago. He'll be attending and just getting to know AGU and getting thrown into the deep end. But I do want to mention that he is going to be kind of the face of the section support program. You know this now as kind of the concierge program, where, as you know, we had different people kind of splitting the load of being assigned certain sections, but really feel for consistency's sake, we really needed and kind of to be more responsive and be hopefully more strategic around this, that we have a new section support program in place of the concierge program that is made up of a dedicated resource who is Josh. Of course, I'll be there, Greg, and this person, Josh, will be working with throughout AGU to get content and information from other parts of the organization. So we hope that that will help. And we will introduce Josh on a next call next year as well. But again, we hope we get to see him in fall. And then before I go on, Jeff, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how having fewer people to interface with makes them more responsive. It seems to me that the concierges already are a little overwhelmed. And I mean, this section support coordinator can only really be a traffic manager, right? Sending the requests to other people at AGU. So it seems like it adds one extra step in getting information back from AGU?
And actually, not to get too in the weeds around it, but one of the issues is that there was not, you may heard me just say a dedicated resource, right? So the 4 people and now 3 people, because we lost an individual who resigned a few months ago, they were doing that concierge role as part of another core job. So they really weren't dedicated. So it was causing some issues around consistency across 4 people, causing some issues around workload and inconsistencies around that. And my hope is this dedicated coordinator, it's not necessarily an extra step, it's actually someone who's directly in contact with the finance team, for example, or, you know, to talk to you about the quarterly financials. That'll probably be one of the first things Josh actually ends up talking to you all about, given the timing. So that's the hope, to really have a person who is kind of in there with you with the curiosity and the depth, and really, like I said, to go deep on a lot of these things. So we hope it will be more helpful. We always want your feedback though, because we're changing this up, right? But that's kind of the thought process.
Have you thought about maybe, you know, some places use like a ticketing system so that if a request goes in, you know it's been received, there you can kind of look up the status of that. So you're not like pinging back and forth and saying, hey, Josh, did you get my email? I haven't heard back from you in a couple of days.
We do. And actually, Greg, why don't you explain in maybe like a minute or less what we use?
Sure. Actually, we've been using the ticketing system for over a year now. It's in a software called GoToAssist. It's triggered by an email to sectionhelp@agu.org. It's an internal system that we use to track requests. Every time you email that, send an email to sectionhelp@agu.org, it automatically opens a ticket, which we use to track the resolution. We don't use it to communicate directly with the section leaders, but we do use it to track. We use traditional email to communicate with you, but it doesn't mean that we're not tracking the issue internally. You don't see it because we don't use the ticketing system to communicate with you, but it is there.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Kimberly.
Thanks for explaining that. We've sometimes had a hard time also getting responses, and I'm wondering, I think that it's just like a matter of communicating when we're having a hard time reaching someone or hearing back. And I'm wondering, is there a place where we can also easily give feedback that we know is going to be, you know, if we're having a hard time with a certain area, getting some response. Yeah. I'm
sorry, go ahead. Yeah, and I think through that email system, but also, you know, essentially Greg and I had this area up and Amber, so you can also, if you want to talk to a person, and Josh, you can always do that, because I know sometimes kind of have, and I've already forgotten the email address, but maybe you don't want to go through the ticketing system and you want to confirm something that's in the ticketing system. You can get in touch with Greg. I mean, I think the order will be Josh, Greg, Rosa, Amber, if you have an issue, but hopefully you will get an answer before you go through all those steps. So hopefully that helps. But we do want general feedback as well on how this goes. And a lot of this switching up is because of the feedback we've gotten from some of you in terms of having a dedicated resource. So thanks for that, because that gave us the opportunity to hopefully structure this in a way that works.
And also one thing I might add, this gives us, having Josh with us will give us a lot more bandwidth to provide process improvements and how we support the sections. We'll be able to do more webinars, be able to contact you about more of our programs and get more of your input about how section support is occurring and find better opportunities for doing outreach to all of your members.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's really helpful, Greg. That's the plan. We really want to kind of expand and blow out, so to speak, the kind of section support role and program and support. Yeah. Does that help, Kimberly?
It does. I just put I typed in the order of the names that you mentioned in the chat, just to like, because I thought that would be helpful. Like who, you know, so sometimes I want to know well, do you want to hear from me or would you rather me go like through section help first? And, or is it more like if it's super urgent, like we're trying to confirm numbers for something, you know, that's coming right up? Can we contact one of you directly? And then did I get that right? So I have Josh, Greg, Rosa, Amber, but should it be like section help? Josh, Greg, Rosa, Amber.
I think that's right for now, but you bring up a good point that I think we probably need to put some guidance out there, you know, starting, I think I mentioned January 1st here on the slide, some guidance in terms of who to call for what, right?
Right. And then who do you really want to hear from first from us? Like, do you want, I mean, sometimes it's easier if you don't hear from 10 of our section members, you know, leadership, rather like always just the, you know, president-elect or, you know, or the chair of, you know, something. Yeah.
I think it's whatever works for you as a section. One of the things that that the team has been talking about lately, actually, and I'll bring it up here briefly, is that it goes both ways, right? I mean, we want whoever you're comfortable with, and if you have someone who you assign, it might be, sometimes it's the section leader, sometimes it's someone on your executive committee, sometimes it's someone else. But in terms of both ways, what I mean is we're giving you a lot of information here today, right? As section leads, my hope is that this gets floated to your section members, and we're going to try and find a way from, you know, our hub, so to speak, to get the word out. But we need your help as well, right? To kind of get the information and cascade it in a way that works for your section membership.
Okay.
So it is really up to you in terms of who the contact is. I'll give an example though, because we're right in the middle of it. So for example, there was and Greg will probably jump in here. I don't want to make this too much longer of a meeting, but you know, in the middle of spring, we send you all a survey to fill out around section events. Now, who remembers what happens with section events right now when we're getting all of the calls from you guys to say, I don't know what happened. I don't, you know, I had someone else in my section fill this out, but it's coming from the section leader asking questions, you know, so there's a lot of coordination. So I hope one of the things we also try to do with Josh and with Greg is less of the fire and forget, and really work with you all as we do this planning with you around fall meeting or whatever it is. But then we need you guys to help us know who your points of contact are, right? To make it easier. So that was a long answer, but that's kind of the intent, and hopefully that helps.
It was great. Thank you so much.
Sure. All right, so another quick couple of things. So section support calls, that's what these are, right? We do them monthly. We won't have one in December. And we will do a cadence of section support calls. We're going to think about possibly reimagining what these are so that you all not only get information from us, but that there's information that you all can share with each other as others as sections, right? So a little more interaction, but that's coming in early January, and letting you know that we're thinking about that and would love to get your input, and you can talk to me directly about that. Section onboarding meetings. If you all remember the last several years, even though I've only been here a year, so I did this last year. Last several years, we've done one-on-one, 25 back-to-back section meetings, kind of as a kickoff to the new year, to talk to you about a lot of operational things related to sections. We are going to take a look at and announce something probably early next year in terms of how we're going to hold those meetings. As an example, this isn't a done deal, but one of the things we've been batting around is maybe we don't do one-on-ones, but we maybe do 3 to 5 meetings where, you know, we ask the section leads to come together to talk about things like finances, and like you did last year, right? Finances, fundraising, meetings, outreach, resources, but possibly there's some kind of a value in having it be grouped with your section colleagues so that questions can be asked and there can be more of a conversation. So we're not letting go of that concept of making sure we meet with you early in the year. We're just trying to figure that out, how it will work best, and more on that. But there will be something that we do with you all. So I'm going to leave it there and see. I'm also going to ask Amber, not to put you on the spot, if you have anything to add on a lot of this, because I know we've been having some discussions internally as well.
Sure. No, thank you. I think you provided a really good summary. You know, really our goal here is to find out how we can best support you in your role. We're going to be working, not that we don't work closely with you now, but given that Josh is coming on board and we'll have a dedicated person, we're really going to be working hand in hand with section leadership to understand, when do you need support? What type of support works best? To make sure that you feel supported, not just at that, you know, early kickoff at the beginning of the year, but throughout the entire year, right? Because it doesn't stop after we have that one-on-one meeting or the one-on-one meetings that we were having. So we're trying to be more strategic, more intentional, and really hear from you in a meaningful way. What do you really need, and what's the best way for us to provide that to you? So it's evolving, and we'll continue to reach out to you to not only let you know what's coming next, but how you can provide your input along the way. So I hope that helps clarify, but yeah, that's where we're headed, and we hope that you'll provide us with your input. I have no doubt that you will. So more to come soon.
Thanks, Amber. And I'm looking at the chat as you were talking there. And Jeff, yeah, thanks for your note. One-on-ones are helpful for asking questions that aren't likely to be relevant to other sections. Yeah, that's something that we can certainly keep in mind. Like I said, we want to make it helpful. But again, we will be doing something. Tanya, thanks for your comment about consistent knowledge base. That's the other piece, right? So that we have consistent messages going out from a person. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. And why don't we go to open mic in the 10 or so minutes we have left. So any comments or questions on kind of the section support piece or anything else you've heard today or otherwise? All right, I really appreciate everyone. Oh, Jeff, go ahead. Sorry, just saw your hand.
Yeah, I know I've asked this question before about getting a list of people in our section that won union awards, medals, and prizes. I've been wanting to send out a congratulation email to our section newsletter. Doesn't look like that's going to happen before the AGU meeting, but we definitely want to recognize people at our reception.
Okay.
And if I don't have a complete list, I'm going to leave somebody out accidentally, or I mean, we really need to be able to recognize those people at our reception.
No, I understand. And why don't we take that offline? But Leah, who oversees our honors program, is on the call. And I know she's gotten similar questions, similar requests. So I just want to kind of double back with her and figure out, you know, so we're being consistent how we're fulfilling that and get back to you.
Right. Well, I mean, this is something that a number of us have been bringing up since the awardees were announced. And this is an example of one of the things that it feels like it falls through the cracks, and it's getting kind of urgent now.
Okay. No, I appreciate that.
And thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Anyone else? Well, you're going to be hearing a lot from us, and we hope to see you, like we said, in Chicago. For those of you who are attending, most of us staff who you see here are attending. And you'll hear from us on the database that Heather was talking about, so we would love to get your feedback. You will hear from us in early January, again, about how we're going to structure kind of the section support and the initial kind of let's kick off the new year with you all. We'll figure out how we do those meetings and let you know. And I think that's it, unless I've forgotten anything from anyone. All right, well, for those of you who are celebrating, have a good Thanksgiving, and we will see you soon, I hope. Take care.
Thanks so much.